Hey folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. This is Robert, your resident Gen Xer, coming at you today with a little bit of a quickie. You'll notice that John is not with me today. I believe he's probably still getting his beauty sleep early this morning. I know it's a little early for a stream to throw something out there, but I tore myself apart last night trying to decide if I was going to say something about this, and after events have unfolded over the last night, the last 2 days, I decided I had to say something. Um, Minneapolis is blowing up. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, um, George Floyd, a man was he was a man going into a store. Apparently, in some way, shape, or form, the store owner felt like he was trying to pass a forged check. And called the police, and the police responded, and they responded in a horrible, horrific way. It's all over the news. Held him down for 7 to 8 minutes with a knee on the neck, and the man on multiple videos was videotaped dying on the scene. He was dead by the time they put him in an ambulance to take him to the hospital. It's a horrible, horrible thing. The response was to fire those 4 police officers. Um, was that enough response? Apparently not. Should they have been immediately arrested? Probably. Um, but now, as the investigation goes on, which of course is considered due process to look into this and decide what to charge them with, etc. It's not enough, apparently, for the citizens of Minneapolis. Um, they have begun to protest. They started day before yesterday protesting, and things have started turning violent. It got a little bit violent that night, and it accelerated yesterday. Um, but I have to stand up and say, you're going too far. Um, I sit and I look back to L.A. with the Rodney King riots that ensued there. Um, you're not going to be successful with these riots in getting what you want, because it's not it's not the right way to go. You are crying out for justice for George Floyd, and I agree. There needs to be justice, and it needs to be harsh, and it needs to be severe. But destroying your own community is foolish. The lives that you're putting at stake, the the businesses that you're destroying, there are fires raging, there are stores being looted. Um, what are you accomplishing? What do you think is going to happen? There are people on the streets talking to reporters last night saying, what right do the police have to respond in the way they have, firing rubber bullets, tear gas, trying to stop this? Well, guess what? That's what's going to happen. If you bring violence, they will have to answer with violence. They will have to answer with putting a boot down. They don't have a choice to protect the community that you are standing up and saying, this is wrong. Our community needs to band together and do something about this. So you cut your nose off to spite your face. There are innocent people being affected by this, innocent people in your community. I watched during the Rodney King riots as the same thing happened. Stores destroyed, businesses looted to the bare bones, much like is happening in Minneapolis right now. And your shock at a police response is it boggles my mind. It boggles my mind that you are surprised that this is going to happen. I watched a video yesterday in the early parts of the protests that were going on as it was beginning to ramp up, and I watched people throwing rocks, breaking windows in police cars. This is not peaceful protest. If you want a peaceful resolution to this, violence is never going to be the answer. It will not be the answer. It's not going to bring swifter justice for George Floyd, and I can honestly tell you that this is not what George Floyd would have wanted. If you look back at the Rodney King riots in LA, Rodney King spoke out about the riots with his infamous line, "Why can't we all just get along?" He didn't agree with it. George Floyd would not agree with it. This is not how you find his justice. All you're doing is you're satisfying your own self-righteousness and hurting the people around you. I hate to see these things because it shows me that you're willing to sacrifice your own. You're willing to offer nothing but violence in answer to violence. I understand that the police were brutal in this situation, specifically those 4 police officers, the one on his neck, and the 3 that didn't respond properly to stop him and shut him the fuck down. But I can promise you this is not indicative of all police. This is not indicative of the mindset of the entire police force in Minneapolis or anywhere else in this country. These are outliers. We have social media that aggrandizes these situations and blows them up. But as you sit in your protest, throwing rocks, looting stores, starting fires, do you stop and look at all the other lives that have been taken in the pursuit of police justice, whether they're white, brown, Asian? You don't. And to turn this police response to these riots into a racial situation, I've seen a quote to a reporter saying that basically the other protests that have gone on in for the COVID-19, the coronavirus lockdowns, didn't get this kind of police response. The people showed up armed with guns. Yes, they did. But what they didn't do was use them. What they didn't do was strike out. And that is where you take it from a level of peaceful protest to a riot and a dangerous situation for everyone involved. It has to be stopped, and the police are going to respond that way. Stop shooting yourself in the foot. Just stop. It's pointless. These riots serve no purpose but to hurt the very community you wish to support and protect and defend. It saddens me. I'll take a moment. Hey, folks, it's good to see that a few of you showed up. I know it's early, and this is. I appreciate you showing up. I know that some people won't agree with me, and that's fine. Citizen Z, the media is instigating as usual. Of course, the media is instigating, but if you've watched any videos of what's going on in the streets, the protesters are instigating violence themselves through violent actions. I mean, it is what it is. But if you think that it's going to solve everything, but we have to find a way to bring about quicker justice, to demand better justice, and stop destroying ourselves. You won't go anywhere. It just won't help. I see that, Derek Jones. Everyone does it, and they do. Everyone does do it. Everyone will. This is what happens. And I've never been a fan of it. Again, I watched things go on during the Rodney King riots that were abhorrent. Watched 3 guys pull a white truck driver out of his semi, for no other reason than he was white and watched them kick and beat him on the ground. What does it solve? It does nothing but appease your own sense of warped justice. This is not how it's going to help, and it's not going to work. Do yourselves a favor. Calm the fuck down. Carry your protest signs. Speak out. By all means, protest and speak out. But keep your rocks in your pocket. Leave the guns behind. It's not necessary. Because these situations only get worse before they get better. Minneapolis is reaching out to the National Guard to come help shut this down. I don't want an authoritarian state. I don't want that to happen in this country. I don't want it to happen in. But what choice do you leave when you're willing to destroy your own community? Juan, the protest started peacefully last night. Actually, I know you're saying that it started peacefully last night, but during the afternoon, I was watching the protest in the beginning of it as they were marching down the street, and literally watched as they were heading downtown to carry on with the protest. And during that peaceful portion you speak of, they were literally throwing rocks through the windows of police cars and at the police. That is not peaceful. I disagree that the police provoked this riot. It has been brewing and they are lashing out. I watched the police leave the scene as rocks were being thrown at them. I'm just saying, this is not the police provoking the violence. Frosty Fry says, do you assume that the same group that care this guy died are also the same group rioting? I believe it's probably a mix. To be honest with you, I would expect that those closest to George Floyd family and friends may not be a part of this. I know that there are going to be a lot of people that are just jumping into this riot for the chaos of it all. I mean, there's a Target nearby that was looted to the bones. I don't know that that has anything to do with George Floyd's death. Why? Zoomy Boomies, I don't agree with violence, but the mayor calling for arrests to be made and still not happening certainly made it worse. Yes, I agree. And again, justice was not swift, has not been swift enough in this. Yes, those officers, specifically the officer on George Floyd's neck, should be in jail right now. I agree with this. But again, destroying your own community will not solve that. Hurting the people around you that support your community will not make that any better. It does not bring George Floyd back, and it does not speak to justice in this case. But I'm not going to keep going on about this. I just wanted to get on here and throw something out. I appreciate you folks showing up and listening and hearing me rant a little bit. This is the level of violence. This is the level of chaos that I find the most troubling in our society. I've seen it before in my lifetime, multiple times, and I feel horrible for the people that have to suffer through with it. The new victims of George Floyd's death. So that being said, thank you very much for joining me. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Take a look down in the description. You'll see some links to our Discord server and other sources that you can find us out here on the big wide web. When it's all said and done, we need to take care of each other. It's a crazy time right now. A lot of people are getting more and more amped up. So look out for each other. Look out for those around you. The community is an important thing in our lives, no matter how little you see it. It is important. So take care of those around you and watch out for yourselves. That being said, thanks again for showing up, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. Peace out.
The war will begin.